Welcome. This is how do I do a proper push-up? So great question. Let me show you. A couple of things first is you might want to have a blanket or a towel handy, and you could watch this through and then do it with me a second time around, depending on if you need to kind of see visually, which I think might be helpful. So one thing is that everybody's going to do their push-up a little differently, depending on the shoulders, wrists, depending on their strength, core strength, and what feels good in their body. So there is wiggle room for sure. But the key things to avoid are what I want to talk to you about right now. What I see oftentimes in push-ups are too much work going into the jaw and neck, and also collapsing at the lumbar, so we're not getting support here, and we could actually cause some discomfort in the low back and not get all of the strength benefit that we probably want from a push-up practice. So a couple of things. I'm just going to show you what my general push-up looks like. I like a wider-handed, wider than my shoulders position, so that when I come down into that roughly 90-degree position, my elbows are roughly over the elbows. Again, very rough. So there are more yoga type push-ups, more of a chaturanga. There's all different positions that people do with their hands. It really is dependent a lot on what shoulder work they want to do and where it feels best for them within that joint. So I like to go wider, which means my hands are usually wider than my mat. I'm going to not sag, but instead lift. Think about a diamond shape from the pubic bone to the low ribs to the sternum, nice and drawing up and in for support, active even on the inseam of the legs. And then from here, I'm going to, and I will show you modified after this, I'm going to lower without hanging my head and come back up. So a lot of times the head hangs because we think, oh, we're that much closer to the ground. Keep the neck a little more neutral, and down and up. So in order for me not to hang my head, I kind of have to make my gaze rather than straight down, maybe about a foot in front or maybe 8 inches in front. Modified could be very similar to that with the knees down. Now, if my knees are right underneath my hips and I try to come down like this, what's going to happen? Well, I'm generally going to collapse my spine and hike my shoulders up more around my neck because my knees are just so close to where my hands are. So for me, I like to use some padding that I mentioned earlier underneath the knees. And then if I go wide with the hands, go wide with the hands. Draw the pelvis more forward. Activating now, that drawing forward of the pelvis activates more of that diamond shape lifting towards the core. Make sure you haven't collapsed at the lumbar. And then you're just going to do a baby lift and lower. Now, that baby element of bend in the elbows can also be incorporated in the full knees lifted position while you are gaining access to more strength over time. Bitty one or larger one if there's availability there. Maybe I start little here. Maybe as I'm ready, check in with the low back, support, and come down and up. Come down and up. Sometimes to help remind us of lifting the belly, we put something underneath us, and that reminds us, oh, why is that there? Because I want to be lifting actively away from it. I want to be lifting actively away from that block on the floor so that if I lower, I don't land on that block with one part of my body first and come up. We've all seen push-ups done where it's kind of like, or like maybe like this, where the pelvis comes down. So keep drawing the organs back. Always make sure you modify. Hand position can be wide or closer in depending on what you want in the shoulders and depending on where you want to gain the strength. Because I don't have you here to teach a private lesson to, we can't really kind of talk about your specific needs, but you can always write me in the comments and I'll try to assess as necessary and as I can. And if you want a little bit more, know that the footing can change as well. So you can do a cross-footed, cross-ankle, one-legged, bent knee, wide foot. Okay, so there's so many different ways to put, and I wasn't paying attention where my head was in space there. But as you get stronger and you want to incorporate more, add creativity only to the degree that it gives you strength and you're still enjoying it and you're not harming. The creativity needs to be the first thing that goes if any of those things are happening, if anything's not feeling right. So I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy your push-ups. Namaste.